Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live on MSP Waves Radio. I'm your host, Aggroed. Today is August the 29th of 2020, and it's 7 p.m. Eastern. And tonight is the NFT show. So what I wanted to go do this evening is start by walking people through a variety of the platforms that you can use non-fungible tokens on the Hive blockchain. So here, what we're looking at is Splinterlands. Now, in all honesty and in all transparency, I have I'm a little impartial for these things because I happen to be involved with this project. I was one of the co-founders, and I do quite a bit of effort to make sure that this game spreads far and wide. So I'm currently logged in. I have one of my Hive accounts here. This is Tender Shepherd. And this is a homepage, and here I can go to learn how to battle. I can talk about card ownership. I can go visit the community. I can see kind of my current status within the game, the next event, meaning the next tournament pool that's coming. I can get some basics of how to fight, and then here is the basics of my collection, and then ways for the players to gather around, and then a little bit of stay up to date by subscribing. So that's the homepage. So then we can go to the shop. Now, the shop is powered by multiple currencies, and we are basically currency agnostic here. So when I click on this button, this is how I can go buy credits, and credits are what I actually spend on the website. So here, this is PayPal, so if you just want to pay with a standard credit card in US dollars, you can do that. And you can also go through a variety of different cryptocurrencies. Now, not only do we accept something like Ethereum, but we actually can start accepting the ERC20s as well. And I think actually just like some part of what we built here, and really, it's Yabap Matt, the genius behind this. We've really been able to go accept the whole variety of these different tokens and cryptos, and even just that, I think, is actually a pretty novel aspect of what we're doing here at the Splinterlands. So once I've gotten my credits, because that's one of the currencies, we have a second currency that we use that's called dark energy crystals. And these can be purchased on a variety of markets. I'll kind of talk about one of those later on. But they can also be used in-game, and this is one of the currencies. Now we have two different currencies, and we actually ultimately accept a lot of different currencies. And it's kind of funny how we arrived here. Initially you just could use Hive or Litecoin or a variety of different cryptocurrencies, but all of these different cryptocurrencies have different block times. And so getting the handshake to work appropriately was actually fairly difficult when we had Bitcoin, Litecoin, Hive, US dollars, and all these different transactions at the same time. So what we ended up doing is we normalized everything to these credits. Now, when you're dealing with cryptocurrencies, it's really important to make sure that you're in compliance with the jurisdiction that you're in. Because, this game is amazing. It's not worth going to jail for, though. So one of the things that we've done with these credits is that they are non-transferable. So just like any other in-game currency, like if you go into Clash of Clans and you go buy gems, you can purchase gems with a credit card, but then you can't transfer them to another player. And that's one of the ways that we're able to have this be a legal aspect, is that the credits themselves are non-transferable. So one of the units that is transferable is dark energy crystals. And dark energy crystals is something that you can earn by playing. You can unlock some of them by burning your cards. And then they can also come in the form of kind of tournament prizes, of which we give out, something like $2,500 per week, or maybe it's $2,700 per week in tournament prizes overall. So these are the currencies that you're able to use. And one thing to note is that the game doesn't actually sell dark energy crystals directly. You can get them on the various exchanges, but we don't sell these things directly. You gotta go through other players. So once you've actually gotten some of these currencies, whether it be credits or whether it's dark energy crystals, you can now come into the game and you're able to buy packs, potions, and these potions will change. The main potions that people buy are the legendary and the alchemy, and they'll change kind of the rarity of the cards that you can receive. there's a set of tokens. These are actually just launched a handful of days ago. And I'm frankly amazed at how quickly these have gone. We've sold 27,000 packs over the last couple days. And if you multiply 27,000 by 3,000, you'll get up to something like 51 million as like the highest retail amount of dark energy crystals that we've burned. And it's somewhere around, it's not quite the 61. It's probably in the mid 50s or so. But even still, that represents around 10% of the total supply of dark energy crystals have been burned just in the last couple days. So this to me is a phenomenal start to the release of these dark energy crystals, or the Asmare dice. And I'm just thrilled with how well received they've been. And then there's skins too. There's cosmetic skins. These didn't take off quite like I was hoping, but it is important to recognize that there are ways to alter the looks of the cards that are in the game, and hopefully we'll have more of these to come. But what's cool is that the packs that you purchase end up giving you fungible tokens. So you'll receive a fungible token called the Untamed pack, and you can buy and sell those. As you buy these, you actually get access to airdrops. So the more packs you have, the higher your chance is to actually get some cards in the airdrops. So, all right. So then once I have some of these fungible tokens for the Untamed packs, then I can go into the Open tab and I can see a variety of the different pack types that I own on this Tender Shepherd account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move one of these packs into the monowell. So that monowell is going to go light up. I can hit confirm. And what it's doing is it's actually pinging the blockchain right this second. It's pinging, and we're trying to figure out what cards are going to be part of that pack. And so it takes roughly 6 seconds to do that, because we have to go ping the blockchain and then get the answer back. So it looks like I've gotten one epic card, and then I got one epic card and one rare. So that's a fairly mediocre pack, but that's okay. If I'm worried that the game is somehow cheating me, I can go look at all the different stats that went into the randomization of that card pack. It automatically uploads those stats for me, so I don't have to pull them from the blockchain. But if you wanted to, you could go into the blockchain and make sure that all of these things were true. And then when you hit generate packs, it'll actually show you what cards were part of that, so that you can verify for yourself what cards ought to be in there, and make sure that the game isn't like unethically printing a variety of cards for itself. So then I get to go into the market, and I'm super proud of this market. One, it's one of the most active NFT markets in the world. In given weeks, it is the most. But since the rise of atomic assets on Wax, that thing has been pretty active. So we're not quite the number one, but we're usually in the top 5 markets overall. So today what we've seen is that there's been roughly $5,000 of sales, and there's been roughly $6,500 unique sales. So what is really impressive to me is just the amount of information that I'm able to get, because this game is built on a blockchain. So for example, here's Yoden Zaku. So the lowest priced Yoden Zaku is $14.42. I know that there's exactly 776 of these cards in existence, and I know precisely that there's 54 in the market. And if I click into this card, I can see how it's priced, who's selling them, at what price they're selling them, and sort of what the market depth for this particular card is. So I can get quite a bit of information. This is for the Untamed. There are actually gold foil variations of these cards, and you can see that the gold foil of the Untamed cards can go up for $40 all the way up to $160. And recently we've released the dice, and here we're seeing that those cards, the epic gold foil epics are trading for maybe $7 to $11, and we're seeing that the gold foil of the of some of these legendary cards are trading. Some of them are over $100. So it's a nice day when you pick up a $100 plus card in a $2 pack. So we have a very active market. We have a lot of cards that are in here. Each one of these cards is an NFT. And so some people have questions of like, what is an NFT? What is this thing? Like, why is it called that? Fungible tokens are things like Bitcoin, where if I send you a Bitcoin, you're not going to ask me which one because you don't care which one. Because, when I go to the market, people will treat all of those cards differently. And here, if I were feeling excessively kind and I said, hey, I just sent you a Splinterlands card, your first question would be something like, hey, that's cool. Which one did you send me? And then I might tell you, oh, I sent you a Prince Renyan. And you would then ask, that's cool, which one? Because you might want to know what foil it is, what level it is, what the card ID is. And because all of these stats are tracked independently and they're all associated with the card, these things are considered non-fungible tokens. That the Prince Renyan and the Spirit of the Forest are different, and even within these categories, the cards are treated differently. So it's kind of a big deal that we track all these things separately because that's part of what feeds into the market. That's part of what feeds this whole game, and it's how we differentiate between all the cards. All right, so there's that market, and now here what we have is our cards and the collection. So I can go look through a variety of these different cards. Here's the full standard foil collection that's part of this Tender Shepherd account. And there's quite a lot of cards that are part of this. I have 253 separate of the regular foil cards, and I have 238 of the gold foil cards. So one of my favorite cards to kind of look at here is the Exploding Dwarf. So when I look at the stats, one of the aspects of this game that is unique really to Splinterlands and to the digital games is that because we are able to offer prizes, and those prizes are relative to your rank, and your rank increases by beating opponents, and in order to get the highest rank, it's easiest if you have the highest level cards, you are inclined to get higher level cards. And the way that you do that in this game is combining cards to make them level up. So in this case, to get the Exploding Dwarf from level 1 to level 10, you have to combine a total of 505 cards. Now, in a game like Magic or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh!, when you open that pack, you typically have 3 cards that you're really excited about, and then like 7 or more of them are just trash that ends up in a drawer you throw out, or your parents throw out or something. So what's nice about this game is that there's not really the luxury of having excessive duplicates. There are a handful of players that will exceed that amount, but for most people, it's a struggle to get up to all 505 of these, and that's part of what induces scarcity in this game. It's part of what reduces the circulation of these cards, and it's part of what drives the value in the secondary market overall. Now, as we look at these stats, you can see that my melee attack is going up, my speed is going up, armor and health here stay the same, but as I increase my level, I'm getting more and more of the different abilities. And this really empowers this monster to go be quite a force on the battlefield. Okay, so now there is a battle system. So first off, this account is in Champion 1. There's a season, and the seasons are roughly 2 weeks long, and there's a countdown until the end of the season, so there's about 1 more day left. And here, you can see the various matches that I've been a part of, whether they're in tournaments, whether those tournament matches have been revealed, or if they're just if they're part of the ranked season. I can also go check out the top battles and the leaderboard. And one thing that I'm pretty proud of for this game is that oftentimes blockchain games are really not all that built on a blockchain. So you'll have some of these games, particularly those that are built on Ethereum, where you have digital assets that are living in smart contracts, in particular the ERC 721. And those smart contracts are out there, and those NFTs are out there. But most of the gameplay kind of ignores it. You might settle the transactions for who owns the account or who owns the tokens, but basically everything else isn't really a blockchain game. One of the things that our team is particularly proud of is the fact that every single thing that you're doing in the Splinterlands is actually built on the blockchain. So what matches you're doing, what tournaments are happening, how many times a day you're playing, what your win-loss ratio is. All that stuff is available just by looking at the various blocks and starting to sort of parse them and figure out what of this is Splinterlands transactions and going through that. Basically anybody with a computer science 101 is able to really pull out a lot of that detail. Now, another thing that we do that I'm quite proud of is that all of the different matches that you fight have different rules. So here's back to basics. So that means that the monsters lose all abilities. Here's a different mana cap, and here's different teams. And then when I look at this battle, it's unprotected. Here's taking sides, a different mana cap, and different teams. And what this does is that it changes the meta in every single match. So no two matches are going to be the same because different teams will be allowed, and there's different rule sets and different opponents. So it really forces you to know the different cards and know what's happening in the game before you can move on. And when I talked about this sort of like rank system, if you're in bronze, you'll get 5 loot chests at the end of the season, or 9 if you make it all the way up to bronze 1. But if you get into champion, you can win up to 150 loot chests. And these loot chests can have prizes that are, maybe up to $50 to, $100 or $200 in them. So it really is in your best interest to go do that. Now I'm seeing a challenge from Ron. That was kind of Ron to go do this. So I'm going to view this, and I'm going to go fight Ron, although I'm wondering why those images don't display. But I'm going to go accept this, and it's time to fight. So we're going to go fight at the Gold League. Here are the various level caps. The cards that are available are all. There's no wager. And I don't. There's something wrong with how it's displaying how many minutes are left. But that's fine. I'm going to fight Ron. So it's going to go as it pings the blockchain. Whoops, there is an error accepting the challenge. The specified challenge has already been accepted or canceled. I guess Ron canceled that challenge, but that's fine. He ran away. So now let's get into the events. Within the events, these are where the tournaments happen. So thus far, we've awarded $142,000 worth of prizes to our players. And in the next maybe 2 weeks or so, we have $2,600 in prizes going out to the players. And they're all baked into these different tournaments that come at different levels. And, we're pretty excited by just how many ways that there are to sort of engage in this game and earn prizes. Then lastly, what we have here is the guilds. I happen to be in this guild, which is Immortal Gods. And the guilds right now are mostly social, but it's coming along that actually you'll be able to engage in guild tournaments, and there'll be guild prizes. And that's sort of the precursor then for boss fights, which is where your team will go fight, collectively against a giant monster. So right now there's something like 160 different guilds that are part of this. We're almost up to 170 at different leagues and different rankings, and so this is like a key aspect of the game that's social and kind of keeps players interacting, and gets even more important as we release the guild tournaments and the boss fights. So I just want to stress that all of these cards are non-fungible tokens. They're all separate. They all have different prices. They're part of different editions. They have different foils, different rarities. They come from the different splinters of the different elements. They're different card types where they're either summoners or monsters, and eventually we're going to add a whole land expansion. So in the land expansion, you'll buy land, you'll put buildings on it, you'll be able to harvest resources, essences, and shards, and that collection will be used to go mint your own cards, which will come in the variety of items and spells. So when we were thinking, look, we want to put in a new layer of interaction in the game, and we want it to be items and spells, but we don't just want to directly sell them to you. We want it so that you have the ability to make your own cards. We just thought that was a lot cooler. And it also just introduces a different way to play this game. Not everybody is going to be a trading card buff, but there's lots of people that get excited about these sort of empire building games in the vein of Clash of Clans or Civilization. There's there's a whole new market of people that want to participate in that. And now here's another way that you can kind of interact with the Splinterlands to go partake in yet like a whole new aspect of this game. And all the lands are going to be NFTs, and all the buildings are going to be NFTs. And there'll be some guild prizes, and all those guild prizes will be NFTs. So I like to think that Splinterlands is really pioneering a lot of what we're doing in terms of NFTs in general. So here's DApp Radar, here's the rankings, and you can see that Splinterlands is pretty high up in the rank. And if you consider that these Tron ones are probably scams, so I'm happy to go remove all the Tron nonsense that's in here. And the TT mining is really just an app that's keeping track of folks that are mining. Splinterlands is really the most popular DApp, the thing that people are actually using and interacting with. We're one of, if not the most popular DApp in the world. And if you just switch this thing to gaming, the next closest has a third of the gamers that we do. So I'm pretty pleased with where we go, or where we've gotten. So that's the first NFT project that I wanted to go talk about this evening. So I'm going to hide this. And now here's the second NFT project that I wanted to talk about. So this is a website called NFT Showroom. And NFT Showroom is a place where you can tokenize and sell and collect scarce tokenized art. So this is some of the featured artists. So we have moderators that'll go through and pick various pieces or various artists that we want to go highlight on the page. Here's some recent activity. So you can see pieces that have recently been bought and sold. And then lastly, you can see the most recently tokenized art that's out here. So as I go through this, I'd like to go click into the gallery. And just one of the things that I'm always excited about is just seeing like how creative and how clever these folks are. There's so much different art that's on here. So many different like perspectives, ways to look at life, different styles. And these people are capable of evoking different images and feelings. And I don't know, this is something that I didn't, I'm part of having built this. And even though I thought from the very beginning this was cool, I have been pleasantly surprised at how much I like to see the different art, the way that it kind of provokes feelings in me, the way that I like to collect this stuff, what I like to see. There's a fair amount of not safe for work content recently. I imagine that's all root draws material. But even still, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I think is really clever, really beautiful, just very, very creative and provocative. And I don't know, it's a pleasure to kind of go through this and see what kind of craziness are you guys creating, and how does it change me? How do I think through these things? So anyways, that's our gallery. Then if I want, once we can, we allow people to go get whitelisted. And after you've been whitelisted, you have the ability to start tokenizing. We're pretty worried about people fraudulently plagiarizing somebody else's content. So we don't just want to open this up to everybody. But for folks that are artists, we're not really here to judge your art so much as judge that it's your authentic art. So assuming that you have your own authentic art, here is the form that people fill out to go tokenize their art. Then after they've done that, they can put these things up for sale. Here is my own personal NFT collection. And there's some pretty cool stuff in here. Two of these are from my own daughter. This giant frog is one of my favorites that I've collected. Alien Assassin is one of my favorites. Actually, I guess I have 3 that are from my daughter. I have one of the test tokens from Julia. It's the only art from Julia I can afford because she's so talented that her art is it goes for more money than I have available to buy it. But I have a Julia original that only a clown would buy this, so it's an honor to have that. And it's one of the first tokens on the platform, so I think that's pretty cool. I can see my balance through my wallet. If I wanted, I can go to my cart, and my cart will actually allow me to go post things for sale and whatnot. And then I can go to my own gallery. Currently, I only have one piece for sale. I bought this to go flip. Christy Glass is a very talented artist. She put these cats up, and I know that there are cat lovers out there, so I bought the first edition and I immediately flipped it. And we'll see if that ever goes through. So that is NFT Showroom, and these next two sites are actually going to look fairly familiar because they're following that same pattern. So the next one that I want to show you is Lindsay.io. Now, Lindsay has the same approach going. We have the featured, we have the recent activity, and we also have the freshly tokenized photographs. So whereas the NFT Showroom is really all about art, this more specifically is for photographs. So, now when I go through the gallery, these are really focused on landscapes. I see a fair amount of people. I see animals. And actually there's not too much available here. I've been surprised at how quickly people have been picking up these different picking up the different tokens and collecting these things. To me, it's been fun to watch and just see. A lot of people, when they first get here, they're like, how do any of these things have value? Like, why don't I just right click it and download it? And that's the same thing, right? And honestly, you have to start looking at, where does value come from? And value comes from demand. And it's people that want to own these. And if you're a cat lover, you can kind of come in here and see, okay, there's only 10 of these. They're priced fairly inexpensively, and this looks like, there's lots of people that like cats. So for something like this, I have no problem just going in here. Here's my cart. I'm going to go buy this. I get to have the first edition. It's a picture of a cat. It's somebody that I think actually has the ability to collect an audience. So that's one of the things that I personally look for is, do I think that this person is going to be able to get more people that's going to be a part of this? Because that, I think, is going to determine what is the future value of my art. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and follow him because I've interacted with him slightly in Discord, and I find them to be pleasant. And I think that there's value to this. Okay, so now, so that kind of gives you a sense of Lindsay. It's like NFT Showroom, but now it's focused on photographs. And this one hasn't been released yet. Nobody is whitelisted, and this one's kind of racy. So if you're overly sensitive to these things, then this might not actually be a good fit for you. But this site is now in pre-alpha, and the site here is xude.art. It's xude.art. And this is going to be a place where you can tokenize not safe for work images and videos. And I'm pretty nervous about this one because I believe that there's a lot of human trafficking in this world, and I'm very much against it. And I really don't want to see this website contribute to that. While at the same time, I respect that people own their own bodies and have the right to make their own choices. And I want to facilitate economic freedom and personal liberty. So there's inside of me, there's this conflict of just how well do I think this can operate. So, as this thing rolls out, to me, it's a bit of an experiment. But I really think that it's important that people have a way to go express themselves, and that can include their naked body or sexual expression. I think those are important parts of being a human. And if we can do that ethically and honestly and with the full consent of those that are participating in the site, then I think that this can be a site that's quite empowering, can help you connect to an artist, and that, in some ways it might help you build a sense of intimacy or find a sense of sexual pleasure that might be missing in your life. I just think that there are powerful things that this can unlock. So To me, it's an experiment. If the whole thing just becomes a shit show and I think it's like filled with kids that didn't consent to be there, then I'll shut the damn thing down. But I think with a little bit of foresight into making sure that this is a place of consensual adults interacting in not safe for work content, and folks are aware of that it can be an empowering, fun, sexual, sensual place for economic and personal liberty. So I'm hoping that we can do this peacefully, and that's part of what we're exploring. So there's a couple other sites that I haven't included, but are in various stages of being built. I just think that there's a lot that these markets can do that once you have NFTs and marketplaces and tokens and scarcity and the transfer of rights, there's a lot that I think that we can do. So on the shortwave radar for this, I see running a site that's really meant for commercial stock images, video, and voices. Because a lot of people want to make commercials. They don't want to have to go get and find every single piece by themselves. But in my experience doing that, it is a little nerve-wracking that I have no idea how many times a certain image has been sold, how many groups are using it, and what groups are using it. So imagine my surprise if some image that I'm really happy about ends up in the hands of a group that I really don't agree with, and now both of us are using the same imagery. That might be kind of surprising and or distasteful to me. So there's something about having that kind of ownership and that scarcity that I think is actually fairly exciting and highly valuable to groups that are looking to market their products and their ideas out into the world. So that's one idea. A second idea that should be coming into the world before too long is something called a predictive market. And essentially it's a type of gambling. So my guess is that we're not going to be able to legally do it within the United States, but fortunately the world is bigger than the United States. But in jurisdictions that are more favorable, these kinds of betting sites are legal and allowed. And the way that it works, on the simple end, you might pick two sports teams and say which one of them is going to win the game on a certain day. And from that, you can wager and determine who you think is going to win, and the site can kind of trustlessly pay out to the correct groups. Another more complicated thing might be who's going to win the national championship. So now it's not just team A or B, but there might be 16, 32 or more teams all competing for the same spots. And now you're able to risk money in an even larger pool, and that could be exciting. Or you could see predictive markets in something like, I think Tesla stock will be worth $1,000 per stock on a specific date. And then you can take that bet or not. And so I think that having a sort of betting and gambling site, and again, I'm quite conscious of jurisdictions and legality, even though I personally find them quite offensive. In my corporate fiduciary role, I take them very seriously. And so here, I think that's another NFT site that we could roll out. And there's just more. And all of these are powered by a website that I also am one of the leads on, is this project called Hive Engine. And Hive Engine is a smart contract platform. So Hive as a blockchain doesn't have native smart contracts. I mean, technically they do, but you don't have the ability to sort of write your own. And so the smart contracts that are there are things like voting on posts and transferring. Those are smart contracts, but they're really limited. And Hive Engine actually doesn't have completely open smart contracts either. And I do that for a reason, is that I tend to think that all of human ingenuity is smarter than just a handful of servers. And eventually, if you allow all smart contracts to participate, eventually they will surpass what your servers can do. So I think it's important to limit your smart contracts just to a very narrow range of them, so that you have a lot of core flexibility but not everything lives in that space. So Hive Engine is a layer 2 solution. And what that means is that you will use your keys to go post what are called custom JSON, which is essentially like leaving a little like a sticky note on the blockchain. And the blockchain itself doesn't interpret it. It'll see it and it just looks at it like a random string of text and it basically ignores it. But for when our node sees it, when our server sees it, it starts interpreting that to determine, is this a transfer? Are you creating a token? Are you creating an NFT? What are you destroying an NFT? Are you embedding fungible tokens into non-fungible tokens? There's all these kind of funky ways that you can transact on this second layer, and it's important that your keys are used, so it's verifying your identity, and those transactions are all being verified by the witnesses on the Hive blockchain, and we don't pull any data that hasn't first been approved by the witnesses. So it's kind of this funky mix of extremely decentralized and, something like the front end of this website is actually quite centralized because technically I own it. It's my name that's on that thing. So it's kind of this weird mix of, completely decentralized and completely centralized kind of living together. So there are some people that are frustrated that this thing is not the single most decentralized thing in the world, and I agree with them. It is not the most decentralized thing in the world. But, it is an open source program. People can verify all of the transactions. People can run nodes and verify that the state is accurate. So there's quite a bit that's decentralized, open, public, and if the website and the team of developers ever acts dishonestly, there's ways to hold them accountable and ways to kind of spin up your own site that doesn't rely on us if anything that we do is unethical or or just unethical or illegal or something like that. You have the ability to sort of take what we've built and bring it to a different platform altogether. So all of these things represent a variety of tools that have been built on the Hive blockchain. And one of the things that I really like about all of these tools is that I can interact with the Hive blockchain in the social manner. So here, this is actually one of my posts. It is all NFTs tonight on nfspways.com, games and tokenizing art, photography, not safe for work content, and legal gambling, all on Hive. And so by combining the sort of native aspect of this being a social blockchain with some of the front end websites, with the back end that's pre-built that allows for all these things so that people don't have to keep reinventing a back end to do it, I think that it really gives an unprecedented ability for all of these sites to expand. Because one of the things that I've witnessed let me go back to NFT Showroom here. One of the things that I've witnessed is that the artists that create these various tokens, one of the things that they do is they'll go over onto the Hive blockchain and actually make posts about them. And so what that's doing is it's bringing new people into the atmosphere or into the ecosystem. It's finding new artists and new collectors, and it's bringing the cryptocurrencies from other blockchains here where people are choosing to spend it on Hive-related projects and helping the Hive ecosystem. And so there's just this interaction between the social media and the commerce that I like quite a bit, that I think helps enable sites like Splinterlands to grow, sites like Hive Engine to grow, and the sites that utilize Hive Engine like D-City, like the Crypto Brewmaster, like Splinterlands, like NFT Showroom or Zood or Lindsay. It's this funky combination of the social media aspect and the commerce together that help us expand our network, which is why I've spent the last couple of years focusing so hard on this, because I think it's really the heart of growth. So that's what I wanted to share today with the NFT post in the MSP ways. I know I've ignored the audience for the past 40 minutes, but that's what I wanted to share, and hopefully you guys dug this. I'm gonna stop recording. Thank you for listening, and if you have further questions, this will be in a post, and you're welcome to respond there or join us in Discord through. It's probably best to go to minnowpond.org, but join us there, and we can go answer any questions that you have. Thanks so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day and or evening.